you talk to people who are just getting started. And then you talk to people who have multi-million dollar companies who never knew business credit existed. It was a thing or something that they should actually care about or utilize, right? So I get excited talking to those people too. For example, a lot of times, we tell people to establish the, net 30 payment terms with certain vendors and suppliers and things like that. But I think sometimes what gets lost is the strategy behind it or the reason why. So your payment terms is what helps you manage your cash flow. So if you need to purchase supplies or some type of like equipment or things like that, you being able to buy now and pay later, gives you that power and control.
Welcome to Main Street Makers, a bi-weekly podcast that features real, local small business owners who have transformed their passions into profitable businesses. Learn from fellow small business owners on how they overcome challenges, find opportunities, and create thriving operations that make our neighborhoods more vibrant, connected places to live. I'm Catherine, and this podcast is brought to you by NAV, the business credit platform that believes every small business owner deserves the chance to succeed. Now, let's get to this week's show. Welcome to this week's episode of Main Street Makers. I'm excited to welcome Nimaj Driscoll, who's the owner of Driscoll Family Insurance and Wealth Solutions. It's a consulting firm that helps entrepreneurs and business owners build wealth and manage their risk. He's also a business coach here at NAV, so he has a really wide range of experience working with lots of different kinds of business owners in addition to owning his own business. So I'm very much looking forward to talking through how he manages and thinks through his business, and then how he helps others think through theirs. I think he's going to have a wealth of insights. So welcome.
Thank you for having me, Catherine. I'm glad to be a part of this.
Awesome. Well, I'd love for you to just talk to us about your business and how you started it.
Yeah, so my business is it's actually taken off really well. It's new. So I started in February. Although my business is new, I think the plan for it is something that's just kind of been culminating for, over the past, 10 plus years. So just to give a little background about myself, I'm from Detroit. I got my start in the financial services industry back in 2012. So I began working at a local bank. And just continue to stay curious. I worked as an insurance producer some years ago and remained licensed and everything ever since. And, worked with credit unions and everything under the sun you can just in the community here has been my anchor. It's been what I've been doing. So fast forward, the thing that really changed for me was getting into commercial lending. So, a lot of my background prior to the last 4 years has been in consumer finance. So I had an opportunity to, join a national CDC that was creating a product to, help Black business owners in Detroit get access to financing on just more favorable terms and be more character focused than traditional, lending models, right? So that was something that was exciting to me, and I had a strong connection to, what I'm all about here. So that took shape, and it's been great ever since. My business started this year as more of me just stepping out and deciding that I wanted to be a part of the solution from a different angle. So instead of be the person that's helping people, with their loan application or, actually securing the capital, being the person that is the educator. And that's the part that gives me the most fulfillment and excitement. So, through all of my time and working with, clients and people, it's always made me feel good to be able to give them knowledge or information or strategy on things that they weren't taught, didn't know about, have seen no precedence of. And for me, having all of the experience in all of the different realms under finance, it just made sense for me to step out and become an educator versus the, practitioner of, lending. Being able to do mission-based work is what I'm all about. If there's no mission, to it, it's probably not going to be something that I'll take to. So it's actually what I love about NAV is, our mission to be able to help small business owners get access to business credit, understanding, what it's used for, how to build it, how to navigate lending and all of the resources. So being a business credit coach at NAV has really been complementary to my business. And I'm able to combine the education because I'm an education first company, but also with my love for insurance. So making sure that people are protected, that they have the right foundation is just paramount. So that's what I'm all about in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's great. I love that kind of switch from the tactical part of just helping people get money to really educating them and making sure that it's like the right fit for them. Was there like a moment or a story that you can tell us where that switch happened in your head where you were like, I really need to do this in a different capacity and start my own thing?
Yeah, I've always had this positive feedback from all of the people that I work with. And they always say, man, why don't you just teach this? And it's just like, oh, yeah, yeah. Well, I kind of do through my natural course of work. So not necessarily a specific story or instance, but I will say this. There's one organization that's really special to me here in Detroit, and they have a program to where they teach business owners, how to put together a business plan, how to pitch, how to put together financial projections. And, being one of the lenders that financed the majority of the graduates from the program, just seeing, them, doing the instruction, I think that's what really led to Spark. So it's serendipitous in a way, but the CEO of that organization gave me a call earlier this year. It was just like, hey, you know, um, I would like to use you for this special project. What do you think? Is this something that you want to do? And bring you on a contract basis. And I said, I would love to. I would love to, to help help in that capacity. And it actually is a thing that really sparked me to go out on my own. And it allowed me to be an instructor. So now I'm teaching, and I'm teaching my first contract is actually with the very organization that I got started with when I became a commercial lender. So it's exciting for everything just to come together. So
Yeah, that's great. And then you also mentioned that you have this approach where it's like wealth building, but then there's also the protection that comes in through insurance. What problem were you seeing that kind of informed that that would be your approach as a business and as an educator?
one of the main things is just the basics, and I think a lot of times we get away from the basics because we want to get to the end result, so quickly. And for one, insurance is the foundation for any strong financial plan. So you have to protect what you're building. But the thing that was most like eye opening for me is just, in all of the things that I've done, like personal credit has always been, an issue. So people often don't know the science behind how to have a good credit score, and understanding that there's a difference between not just your credit score, but what does your credit profile look like to, lenders, right? How do you look? What type of risk do you project, right? So being able to help people understand how to budget is very important. So beyond being licensed as an insurance agent, I'm a certified financial education instructor. I'm a certified credit counselor, and the credit counseling piece is something that is very important because helping people, budget, helping people understand, well, are you tracking how much money is coming in, what's going out? Do you need to make more money? Do you need to spend less? How to manage debt, because debt is the thing that can rob you from wealth if you don't manage it appropriately. So just making sure that your behaviors, you have the right behaviors to achieve the goals that you want to do. And a lot of times the mystery behind credit, whether it's personal credit or business credit, or just the things that we weren't often taught, are the things that get in the way from us having that clear pathway. So my firm is an education first firm, and we educate people on building personal credit, how to maintain a proper, budget, how to have the proper relationship with debt, how to make sure that you have, life insurance, the importance of that, understanding that, your income is your biggest asset in most cases, your ability to earn income. We focus on all of these things in addition to business coaching, making sure that entrepreneurs or small business owners, understand what they need to be able to access lending, and bust myths and make sure that people, really know what the true rules of engagement are when it comes to finance. So through all of those things, that's how, I help people build wealth. And if someone was looking to, do something that's more, traditional when it kind of comes to starting some type of investment product or something, because I'm not licensed, that's something that I will refer out to my network. So the foundational financial tools and helping people and small business owners get that, especially those who come from underserved communities, is what I'm passionate about, and that's what I do. So,
Yeah, it sounds like a really holistic approach, which is really healthy. One thing I'm interested in that you were talking about was debt and having a good relationship with debt. I think people have very different relationships with debt. Some people, are like really gung ho about financing. Some people are really cautious. How do you coach people through the process of thinking about whether they should take on financing?
so in relation to business financing, since we're talking about NAB as well, it's really important to have a goal for the financing. So it's not just, well, I need to get, $100,000, line of credit or a loan or credit card. Well, hey, as soon as you get these, financial vehicles, the clock starts ticking, right? How do you pay this back? You have to service the interest, you have to service the payment, you have to, figure out what is your plan. So having a plan is very important, because you can be in the right situation with debt or quickly be in the wrong situation if you're in the wrong product. So it's just the suitability is really important, right? As an example, if you are, financing, a very short-term need, you need some working capital, or, say, for example, you're looking to smooth over cash flow, humps, you have a longer sales cycle, or people just take a little bit longer to pay you, right? So your receivables, a line of credit may make sense, right? But it wouldn't be the best, thing to get a term loan in which now I'm paying back 2, 3, 4, 5 years for some money that I spent yesterday, right? So term loans are better for, like hard assets, equipment, things that depreciate, or actually it makes sense to have that type of fee schedule or payment schedule for. So just like helping people understand the differences and what to get. Because, like there's so many different loan products out there, and it can be hard to navigate and confusing. I mean, there's merchant cash advances, there's lines of credit, there's term loans, there's equipment financing. And, a lot of people will turn to a merchant cash advance because it's a quick source of capital. The requirements might be a little bit easier to get, but it's the wrong product. And then now it feels predatory, right? So just making sure that like business owners really like have a plan and understand what's appropriate is one of the major things.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. There are so many loans, and you're right. I think that's something we see a lot from customers, just getting into the merchant cash advances, and it's not always the best fit. And there's a lot of lore around those in like the broader sense. But so I kind of want to run through a tactical example, because you've said that you don't need financing right now. So how do like you personally think about why you don't need financing? Like what's your thought process from end to end?
Yeah, I have business credit and I've established business credit, but when it comes to financing, I'm a consultant, right? So I really don't have a cash intensive operation, right? My cost to do business, or my cost for client acquisition is fairly low. Okay. So, the money that, I'm spending, is more so on regulatory stuff, insurance, keeping up any type of licenses, or continuing education, spending money on subscriptions and systems and things just to help you be more efficient, as a business owner. So with that being said, like the need for financing to operate is not really there. I have a business credit card, and so I have access to, business lines and things if I were to need it. But really at this point, it's not something required, just because, a company is just myself, and that's it. So now if I wanted to, hire an employee or something like that, before I would personally turn to financing, I would be reinvesting the actual, revenue from the company and using that to be able to float the payroll or whatever it is for whatever type of, staff. I think that there's just understanding like the what's customary for the type of business that you operate, and then what do you need? So if you're doing a cash intensive business to where it's just like, well, hey, I have to spend a whole lot of money before I can get paid. I need to buy, inventory. I have to buy supplies. I have to, front to work on construction projects or whatever it be. Then you may, need financing in different ways than somebody like myself who, gets paid to share, knowledge and education.
Yeah, thanks for running us through that. It's nice to kind of see like your very methodical, strategic approach and the fact that it's pretty easily replicable like once you know the steps to take. And it sounds like even though you don't need financing now, you're being proactive about having business credit, having your personal credit together. How did you kind of like discover business credit? How do you think about staying proactive on making sure that you're in a good spot so that if you need it in the future, you can get it?
So I think really a lot of that comes back to my start in commercial lending because working for one of the largest national CDCs, number one in SBA lending, what's key is the FICO SBSS score. So having to understand that and learn that because that was like you're really, before a lender will even take on considering your loan packet, they want to see, okay, well, does this person, pencil out credit wise? So before we pull your credit and everything, we'll run the SBSS. And depending on what that score was, that determined whether we would talk to you or not based on, well, I don't want to say that, but, usually if the score just wasn't like a 160 or 140, whatever the numbers were at the time, then it probably wouldn't be a suitable loan application, right? So having that understanding and that is really what gave me a lot of the foundation around like understanding the Dun and Bradstreet and really reviewing business credit reports and able to counsel those people who are maybe not quite there and helping them get to where they want to be. As an example, the FICO SBSS score is a blended score. So you see FICO, they don't have the governance over business credit as they are on the consumer side, but they created the score for as primarily SBA guarantee lenders, right? So it's a blend of your personal experience and your business experience. It's a blended score. So helping people understand that and, how they can, look at both of those, bureaus, in addition to just their finances, their business finances and things being in line with their industry and risk profile, just to influence the score has been, really helpful. So knowing that going into, the more character-based lending that I was doing, a lot of it wasn't often based off of business credit. It's personally guaranteed. But I would always take it a step further and make sure that I would educate people on, all of the options that they had and helping them understand how to establish business credit. Okay, so I'm more the type to where if it's something I know, whether it's in my scope or not, I'm going to give it to you. And that's what, has helped me, just be successful and help me, really be connected, stay connected to the people and get the satisfaction out of the work that I do. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice approach because I've definitely talked to bankers that don't actually know about business credit and don't think that it's real because when you're a big lender, often they're, just working off of personal guarantees, which is personal credit. But there are so many options that do require business credit.
So many. And, with the beautiful thing about NAV and being a business credit coach here is that I get to talk to hundreds of people a month. If you really quantify that over the course of a year, I mean, we're talking about thousands of people, whether it's the first call or second, third, just follow-up calls and appointments that they book with me. It's always a different scenario and it keeps you sharp. And you cover a lot of ground and learn a lot of things really quickly. And two, you talk to people who are just getting started. And then you talk to people who have multi-million-dollar companies who never knew business credit existed. It was a thing or something that they should actually care about or utilize, right? So I get excited talking to those people too, So, for example, a lot of times, in business credit, establishing it's the easiest credit to get from another business, before a bank, right? So that's why we tell people to establish the, net 30 payment terms with certain vendors and suppliers and things like that. Those are more tier one or tier two, are easier to qualify for, right? But I think sometimes what gets lost is the strategy behind it or the reason why. So your payment terms is what helps you, manage your cash flow. So if you need to purchase supplies or some type of like equipment or things like that, you being able to, buy now and pay later, essentially within whatever terms, gives you that power and control. So it's not just, hey, buy these items from this particular vendor so you can have that on your credit report. So I'm really big on making sure that people have strategy for what they do. I mean, business credit has a lot of mystery to it, right? Because the names of the companies, the vendors, the creditors don't show up. So you look at a business credit report, you don't know who this is. I have seen people say, that's not mine, that's not mine. Well, let's look at it. It says account type building materials. I just had this call yesterday. You're a builder. Okay. Usually building materials is like Home Depot or Lowe's or something like this, or some supplier for this type of industry. It says net 30. Let's look at this. August the 1st, you had this balance. What do you think? You think this is, okay. It's my Home Depot card, right? So that type of association, these are the strategies and things that I use to help people understand what they actually have when they don't know what they have. While we're on the subject, like other strategies, one of the favorite net 30 accounts, tier ones, is Quill. You can buy office supplies from them. You can buy everything under the sun, whatever you can think of, type it in. Usually they have it. So instead of buying things from places and stores that don't show up on your credit report, which is another thing with business credit, business credit reporting is not mandatory. So you might purchase things, try not to use, too many names, but places that don't, really help you in any type of way when you're trying to strategically build out business credit. Shift your spending to those places that do, right? So the paper towel, the soap, the trash bags, the things that you would naturally buy for your office, buy it from Quill or whoever that may be versus buying it from the other place or just using a general purpose credit card. So now you have established a trade line that actually has use. You'll keep it active. You have, recent activity, and you don't feel like you're just buying things just to build business credit, right? So I'm big on strategy when it comes to personal credit, business credit, and just strategy in general for finance.
Yeah. I love that. Like everything has to kind of serve a purpose. It's really a nice way to think about things. Related to this, you obviously talk to a lot of different kinds of business owners. What is the biggest challenge that you see them face, and how do you help them overcome that?
Yeah. So the main thing that people say is that, I want to separate myself from the business. I want everything, no personal guarantee, everything on the EIN only, business only, business only. And although that is great, a lot of times businesses are in those earlier phases to where the business is not strong enough to really like guarantee itself, So sometimes that can be a hard conversation for people to, to take or accept, because they have a certain idea behind business credit and the reason why they're trying to establish it. So once you, help somebody understand the true like rules of engagement and how sometimes, people may be actually more ready for certain forms of business lending that may be no personal guarantee than they think, because a lot of that stuff is going to be based on revenue and time in business. That's a huge factor, so, if the business is not making money and it hasn't really shown any history of paying anything back on time or at all, or even length of time, actually, operating, then it's going to be hard to have that separation. So making sure that people know business credit is largely going to be tied to your personal credit, and the health of your personal credit can take you far quickly with business credit. And if you don't have strong personal credit, then, hey, you have to work on that simultaneously. So you have to do two things at the same time. So it definitely takes a little bit more of a hands-on approach, more of an investment. of time and also resources. Like you may need to spend a little bit of money. You may have to do some things that you may not have done. So that's why I'm really big on finding every way that you can to shift your spending to things that actually report to the three major business credit bureaus. Fuel cards, example, I love those. You got to put gas in your car. You don't have to be a trucker to benefit from a fuel card, right? That reports to the Business Credit Bureau. You naturally do it. Now you have another trade line. So these are the things that I have. I help people build from the floor up, or help people that have, $1 million companies, actually take a look at their report and see, well, what's holding the score back. So some people may not realize that they have established a business credit report at all. And also, to zoom out a little bit, how your business actually looks as a entity is important. So when someone pulls your business credit report, you don't want to be in a position to where your industry codes aren't there. I spent a lot of time coaching people on industry codes, because those can vary per bureau depending on what the bureau thinks. They're taking guesses, they're using data that's out there. Like, a lot of times business credit information is just not accurate. So you got to take that into your own hands. So making sure that, your address is correct. Imagine if someone pulls, your business credit report, or multiple reports or different sources, and it says you're at this one address here. It says you are a painter, but you really, are a landscaper, right? All of these different inconsistencies that, harms you, or lowers your approvability with certain application systems, So making sure that people stop to actually focus on the foundational things before we get so excited on, I need to add trade lines, I need to get to the money. So you need a plan for the money. You need to have the right profile, and you need to make sure that the trade lines that you have, you actually be able to keep track of them and pay them on time, right? So the sequence in which you do things is important too. And that's something I really try to get, across as a business credit coach.
Yeah, so many rich insights there, and such a common desire for people to just want the business to kind of stand on its own from a financial perspective. I'm curious, I know everyone's path is so different, and you've kind of described how to start building that path, but when can people start to expect that their business might start standing on its own, just to give people maybe a more realistic view of what that timeline looks like?
Yeah. So that's one of those things to where it's such a unique thing. It's a case by case. So it's really hard to give blanket rules of thumb. But I will say that having strong business financials, right? So your cash flow is consistent. So that's important, because oftentimes, there are some loans that are no documentation. There are some loans that, actually will verify this, right? So when you have consistent cash flow, I think that's a sign that you're doing good, right? Being able to, have multiple years of tax filings and things, because it really depends on the type of loan that you're going after. For example, I have experience doing, SBA, worked on the 7A and the Community Advantage Loan Program. Still personally guaranteed, but you have to submit 3 years of tax returns. And it's people who, may have a thriving business, but maybe don't keep up with their taxes, So, making sure that you have all of your compliance and all of that stuff in order with the business that is growing year over year. So if your business, your top line is growing, if you are able to grow in your profit, because your NOI, your net operating income, is important too. So just making sure that, those things are doing well, your margins are improving if possible. And then also the amount of debt that you have, that you work really good to have low balances or no balances, So being able to show almost that you don't need the money, but you're good with the money that you do, use, that you get extended to as a form of credit. And then, most of the lenders, they have their qualifications and baseline, rubric on their website. So it's easy to see, okay, this particular one, they say, okay, yeah, $100,000, be in business 2 years, have a minimum personal credit score, 625 or whatever it may be. So just utilize that information as well as NAV. What I love about NAV is that I really look at it as education and before lending or anything like that. Like I tell people in between talking to me, go to our resource section. Our resource section has a ton of blogs and articles and things that you can actually take into action, to use and put into action immediately. So, never stop learning. So you have to have a commitment to, anything that you want to do right, especially with business credit, being that it's a lot different than consumer credit.
Yeah. It sounds like it's really just about having a solid history of good habits and a solid financial foundation, which, could take you 3 years. It could take you 10 plus years.
It could take
so
years.
it's really hard to kind of give a timeline. That makes a lot of sense. But the earlier you start, the better, which is good.
Yeah, the sooner you start, the better. So, start where you are. Like when I talk to people who just started a business, I'm excited for them. The first thing I tell them is, hey, congratulations, you're doing something that's great, and just make sure that they take the proper steps. Like, do you have a business bank account? A lot of people still use their personal account. So if you want to be a business, you want to take the proper steps to legitimize yourself. Having a business bank account, making sure that, you aren't commingling your funds. So your personal funds are separate, your business funds are your business funds. Have some sort of, bookkeeping. So a great thing about NAV is, our cash flow tool, access that. So you can create a profit and loss statement. You can connect your business operating accounts and things like that to it. And it would tell you, it'll help actually send you a text message and say, hey, you spent this on this date. What category is this? So it gets people involved in a different type of way, in a simple way. And I love what we're doing with that. So just for one, with NAV, leveraging technology and being a fintech, in addition to this great educational tool, and give you, the ability to check, manage, and monitor your business credit. It's something that's really not, in the marketplace, and to have a live person that you can talk to, because that's a game changer. Like, people like to have, a human connection, human element, and it's only so deep that you can go in the email, or you might get a AI response, right? But having that person that can help you understand different things about business credit, or just business in general. So I really look at myself as a business credit coach, but as a business coach, because that's what I do outside of NAV. So NAV is really an extension to Driscoll Family Insurance and Wealth Solutions. This is everything. Coaching is my wealth solutions umbrella arm, right? So NAV, definitely has been great because it strengthens my work, and I get to introduce people to NAV that never knew about NAV in my community. And that's exciting.
Yeah, and it sounds too like you have your business, and the work that you do with NAV is almost like an additional program or an additional revenue stream that kind of feeds into the business. How do you think about that?
Yeah, that's actually one of the reasons why I decided to do NAV. When I made the decision to leave my position as a director for a local community development financial institution, it definitely required some planning. But I made sure that I had something that would not just, support or anchor my income, but also be additive to my goal as to be, Nimaj as the founder and CEO of Driscoll Family Insurance and Wealth Solutions. So it was beautiful because it was right at the right time. I had all of the signs of confirmation from the community, and then it just all came together. So it's really beautiful. So I feel blessed to be in this position. And also I love being able to talk to so many people per day, because I learn things from them, So yes, I'm a subject matter expert, but the more people you talk to, that's the experience. So experience is not always quantified in just years, but what are your experiences, and I have multiple for people from all over the place who all are doing different things, and you learn so much in cool industries, and, so just having just conversations, I'm really just interested about them. learning about them and what they're doing. And then it just evolves from there. So that's how, the coaching has just manifested itself. So,
Yeah, it sounds like such an exciting time to be building something. Those early
mhm,
years are always
yeah.
so fun. So, you've shared a lot of great advice with us, and that's normally how we end. So, instead of that, I'm going
Mhm,
to end on you've shared that building systems has been your biggest challenge. How have
mhm.
you been working through that?
Yeah. So for one, you need to know what you don't know and what you're not, good at. Right. So, I am not the most I don't want to say I'm not tech savvy, but I really focus on the deliverance of the product, and I would rather use my time there versus figuring out, okay, well, what's the hottest tool or what's the best way for me to optimize and do things so I can stay organized. So I think what it is that, and you mentioned this earlier about balancing, working, for NAV. And although I view NAV as an extension of my business, it does, take a lot of my time and trying to build all of this stuff around, which, is also time intensive, is my fiance. She's been a huge part of just making sure that my scheduling tools are together, making sure that I'm optimizing my use in every ability within my calendar or my website, my platform Wix that I use. I have a Wix site and all of the functionality there and everything. So literally, the family, is me and her. Right. So I think for one, when you talk about people, that's important, right? So, it's just like, hey, I'm taking these calls, I'm doing this, I'm setting up these meetings, but when you have somebody that can just so multi-talented, she does graphic design and all type of things, right? So I don't have time to do graphic design and design all of that stuff, and she's busy. She's a business consultant and does a ton of incredible, philanthropic work and things in the community. So it's just like being able to have that has been helpful to me. So my situation is a little bit different, but all in all, the things that you don't do well, outsource them if you can. And yeah, so that's one thing. But yeah, definitely my calendar is a huge tool. And if it's not on my calendar, I don't know where my mind would be. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that to end.
Hmm.
Really solid
Hmm.
support systems
Hmm.
and people who can kind of balance you
Hmm.
out are so important. I
Yeah.
love that message. Well, thank you so much for joining us and for sharing all of your years and years and years of knowledge about business finances and strategy. I think there's a lot to take away here. So thank you so much.
No, thank you. All right.
Thank you to our guests for sharing their story, and thank you for listening today. Keep in mind that every small business is unique and there is no such thing as one-size-fits-all advice, so only take what you find helpful. We look forward to next time.